All right. Hello, beautiful ladies. Today we have an amazing, very sexy, intimate um, masterclass with certified renowned sexologist Chantelle Otten. Chantelle is amazing. We already had a few Zoom calls. We spoke about the women empowerment and how important it is to feel confident, especially during intimacy, and how to feel confident and how to build your libido if you feel like you kind of like lost it on the way, and how to speak and communicate with your partner about your desires and about what like is good for you, what's not, what is suitable or not, and basically like how to feel feminine. So thank you, Chantal, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. There's some really great questions that have been handed in, and then, of course, we can just go through any live ones. Why don't I tell you a little bit about what I do for work and
Yeah.
who I am, and then hopefully that will help This is like the foreplay. I don't like the word foreplay because I feel like everything should just be play, but let me just like warm the group up a little bit. And it's easier to share with someone that you understand and that you feel can kind of see you and you feel comfortable with. So, my name is Chantelle Otten. I am a sexologist from Melbourne, Australia. I live in the US now. I have a Dutch background, so I studied psychology as my undergrad degree in Australia and then science in medicine, and I specialized in sexual medicine. And then I moved to Holland with my Dutch passport and studied sexology there and in Budapest. Um, I run one of the largest sexual health clinics in Australia, and I have been the ambassador for some really big brands. I guess like my job as Chantel, I see people, individuals and couples every single day and give one-on-one therapy with them, or they see some of my team members. No question is silly. Every question is welcome and valid. And of course, if there's anything that you don't feel comfortable talking about via this masterclass, you know where I am. One-on-one therapy is also available.
Let's just create this feminine, safe space for us and
Mm.
share our knowledge and experiences. And I am just very blessed because this is one of the most amazing and intriguing topic. And that's also, intriguing for me. And I love the art of sex and everything about the art of seduction based on the program I studied in Russia when I was a secret agent, like which is sex espionage. So there's so many interesting things. What I also can add, Chantal
Mm.
will add from kind of like scientist perspective. What you know, I can add some things from the perspective of the kind of like psychological techniques, which we discussed. And let's begin. Why does desire often drop when women feel emotionally responsible for their partner's well-being? So great question. And
Mm.
I love about like, to speak about how to stimulate relationships and how to, build up the chemistry and not to lose it over time. So it's very important for especially women to know.
Oh, this is such a good one. It's so common. I don't know if anyone's read Esther Perel's book, Mating in Captivity, but this is a really good book to read, especially on like desire in long-term relationships. And then Aliia and I were also talking about the book, Why Men Love Bitches. Aliia hasn't read it yet, but she's going to read it.
Yes.
I think she knows all the tricks. I don't think she needs it. I think that, desire drops when one partner, often the woman, is looking after or feeling emotionally responsible for the other, because you're then regulating that other person's like sense of self, their feelings, their stability, when you move into the role of like a caretaker, then you're kind of moving into like the mom role, right? And you didn't sign up for this to be someone's mom. Like, you are not here to emotionally manage your partner. The nervous system can no longer then experience the relationship as a place of like a mutual adult to adult connection. It starts to feel more like a responsibility and erotic desire. So eroticism is like where you go with your brain when it comes to sex. And like it's like the story that you tell yourself. It's the fantasy, it's the novelty. But erotic desire, it thrives on polarity, so difference, but also choice. And when a woman feels like she has to hold her partner emotionally and anticipate his moods and soothe his distress or manage his emotional world, and it's not like in a mutual way where it's like to and fro, which is normal in a relationship, but it's more one way. Then you subtly shift from being like a partner to a carer. And I don't know about you, but being someone's carer, it's not hot. Like that's not, that's not what you sign up for. Of course, if you're in a long-term relationship and your partner gets, sick or unwell, it's a totally different story. But erotic desire does struggle in those moments as well. Let's be very clear. The body does not really know how to erotically attuned to someone that it's caring for. It makes it like a little bit more of a chore. Because if you're being cared for, right, if you switch it, if you're being cared for, you're being attuned to someone understands what you need, they take some responsibilities off your plate, you get some beautiful gifts, maybe you get some I thought of you text messages, you get some, you feel safe, you feel trusting. Um, you're able to then lean into that relationship a lot more. If it's on the other hand and you feel a responsibility to caretake for someone and monitor their emotional state and manage conflict carefully and carry the emotional load of the relationship and feel responsible for your partner's happiness and sexual confidence and self-worth, which is often what is projected onto women, then over time, sex just feels like another form of emotional labor. And that is when desire plummets because it becomes a space where you're meeting that person's need and trying to reassure them all the time or stabilize the relationship. So it needs to be more balanced, and each partner needs to take ownership of how they're feeling. And the woman should feel like she's the goddess and she's cared for, and that she doesn't need to always be like on guard, waiting to see how their partner's feeling. Like, is he in a good mood or a bad mood? Can he just tell me? Intimacy then becomes a choice again, not a duty or a repair strategy.
From my perspective, for example, if I feel that um, I don't feel kind of like comfortable and feminine in this relationship because the guy behaves like a mommy's boy, let's say. And as you know, us as female, we have four archetypes. One is the queen, the goddess. Another one is mother. Another one is the partner and friend. And another one is, no, sorry, like another one partner and another one is friend. So we kind of like switch these archetypes, but sometimes we go into one archetype, for example, a mother archetype, and then we become and we feel like a parent to our own partner. And then what happened when you have kids together? So you feel like you have, extra kids and everything is on your shoulders. And then the question is like, how can you actually have a desire or libido, right? If you're so overwhelmed and like you literally, like according to psychology, and that's what Chantel just mentioned, you just feel like you don't want to have intimacy with your son, right? This is so weird. So neither does he, so because he looked at you as the mother. So that's why it's so important to also balance these archetypes and be in a lover archetype and in the queen archetype and whenever it's needed to be a good friend, a partner, but also like not to go and be just in one state. So let's go to the next interesting topic, and it's also one of the reasons why sometimes we don't feel open and relaxed in especially when we have intimacy with our partner due to our childhood traumas or due to our post-traumatic experience in the past.
Yeah.
I do resonate with that a lot because I was a virgin when I came to my military department, and I was raped in literally 2 weeks by my commander. And then I went into this academy and I was constantly raped and constantly sexually assaulted till the moment I was in this victim, vulnerable state of mind. And I just, yes, of course, I was 18 years old and I didn't really know anything, but like that period of my life was the hardest. And I I had to do so much work in order to get out from my victim mentality because if you are kind of like living in it, you attract those kind of people. You know, like manipulator will always find a victim because the victim is basically attracting manipulator and toxic people. And it's so important to work on ourselves and heal ourselves, especially if we have traumas in the past. And I would like to speak about like this childhood negative patterns which actually shape our adult sexual desire.
This is something I talk about a lot with my patients, and also I work with specialized psychologists to help, with EMDR therapy, for example, which is called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. This is where we work with the deep brain waves to reprocess trauma in the body so it feels safer, so you don't feel your nervous system going into overload. But essentially, trauma and the way that it impacts sexuality is very complex. So I want to explain a little bit more about that and then what we can do about it. First and foremost, thank you for sharing, Aliia. I know it's not easy to talk about that, and I know that a lot of women, they hold so much of this terrible trauma in them that someone has inflicted onto them. And it's just, isn't it just so wonderful being a woman? As I sit here, I can see my pepper spray on the table over there. I'm thinking about how safe is it walking around at night. Um, Trauma does not just live in your memories, it lives in the nervous system and in the body. And when someone experiences something like sexual trauma or coercion or violence or repeated boundary violations, it doesn't have to be so explicit either. It doesn't have to be, it can be ongoing, incessant chipping away at someone's self-worth. The body learns that intimacy is then not neutral. It is associated with certain patterns of danger. It's a power imbalance. It's about survival. And even years, decades later, when someone feels intellectually or emotionally safe, their body may still respond as if that threat is still there. It's kind of like a string that pulls you from your chest right back into that experience. And it's very, very, it's just like it's repeating that assault all over again. And that's why people can feel kind of confused or conflicted around desire, because also, what if they experience desire towards someone, but then that desire is associated with an act that has caused them harm in the past? Some people will shut down sexually, others experience desire that comes from more of a compulsive state, like I have to do that, or they might disassociate, so their brain might just go somewhere else during an erotic experience. Or they feel disconnected from emotional safety. None of these responses are wrong. They are your nervous system helping you get through something that you had to survive once. And then on top of that, if it's not just sexual trauma, if it's like relationship trauma, dating trauma, even family trauma, etc., or discussions around like sex is dirty or sex religious kind of, sorry, ignore the New York sirens in the background, but or like sex is wrong or you shouldn't be doing it, or even like the derogatory terms that you get called as a woman who wants to be a sexual person as well. That your childhood patterns matter because early attachment teaches us what closeness feels like. And if care in your childhood was inconsistent or unsafe or emotionally overwhelming, then the adult nervous system is going to associate intimacy with anxiety, hypervigilance, so feeling tense, and loss of control. And this can shape who we are attracted to. As you said, you can easily become a victim because you don't know what it's like to feel safe and secure in your body. You can attract chaos because you might feel chaotic on the inside. It impacts and shapes whether desire feels safe or whether it's destabilizing, or closeness feels soothing or threatening, and how much agency we feel over our own sexual choices. Trauma can show up in so many different ways. And I think from a therapeutic perspective, healing sexual trauma or trauma in general is not about forcing yourself to be more sexual or more open or more available. It's about restoring safety in your body and your choice in intimacy. So, what supports healing? Nervous system regulation. So, noticing when your body is in fight, flight, freeze, or shutdown, and gently bringing it back to safety. You can do that with the help of a good therapist, or doing some kind of somatic work as well, breath work, grounding, and slowing down your sexual experiences. Those passionate ones where you're like performing are probably not going to be the ones that heal you. Trauma-informed therapy like EMDR, somatic therapy, seeing a sexologist like myself, and working with a team is also very helpful. Rebuilding agency in sexuality. This is my demographic, my domain. Trauma often involves loss of choice, and healing involves re-experiencing choice in the body. So choosing when, how, and whom intimacy happens with is very important. Feeling aloud and seeing the reaction of the other person when you ask to slow down or pause or stop, or if you change your mind, is very important. Separating arousal from threat. For many trauma survivors, arousal, so the way that your body reacts towards intimacy, so maybe feeling lubricated or feeling like your nipples get hard or you feel like you want to lean into it, that can be paired with the nervous system response that is associated with power and danger and imbalance. And therapy helps kind of untangle those patterns a lot. And then healing, it can often take a relationship, like as you were saying before, being in a relationship where you can be sassy, you can be authentic, you can be safe to be yourself. These are the ones where you can bring the desire back. It's not that trauma makes people attracted to toxic people. It's that trauma shapes what feels familiar to the nervous system. And healing is really about not blaming yourself or your past patterns, but gently kind of like expanding what your body can experience as safe and stable and desirable.